So attributes that modify the schema are modifying the structure of a table. And this first one basically lets you change the name of the table. Okay, so table, and then give it a new name in double quotes. If you wanted to change your schema name, you can. And if you remember, SQL Server uses DBO, database object, for your default schema name, but you could specify something else if you desired. This little example is basically saying the table name is going to be student info. Okay, and this little example says the table name is student info, and we have specified a schema to undergrad. Column name would be another schema change where you are changing the name of the column in the table. So this is different than the display name. The display name only affects your UI. It's for display purposes only, but the column name is going to affect the actual table. And so you can see that the property is last name with no spaces, and we changed the way it's going to be in the table to last space name. First mid name was changed, so the column in the table will be first name. And enrollment date was changed to date enrolled. So these column changes affect the table. Okay, and so I did run this and show you a little example of how that would look in the Server Explorer. If you remember back to your T-SQL, you can apply indexing to columns that are heavily searched, and that will improve performance. And so you can use the index attribute. It's typically done on foreign keys, okay, if you're going to create additional indices. And so in our example, you can see that we use that index attribute on course ID and student ID, which are both foreign keys. So in Entity Framework, by default, an index is not unique. But if you want it to be unique, you can add is unique equal true to the index attribute. So in this little example, for title, which has all sorts of attributes, we're also going to add an index because it is conceivable they would want to search on course title. And then we're saying is unique equals true because we should not have multiple courses with the same title. It should be something that is unique. Okay, so index is unique equal true is kind of appropriate here for our title property. And then if you look, we have our columns. You can see there's title here. This is in the Server Explorer. And then if we come down and look in the indices folder, you can see that it did create the unique non-clustered index on title. And then if we look in our previous example where we had done the index on the foreign keys, which are course ID and student ID, you can see that in the indices folder, these are non-unique and they're non-clustered. So the convention for a foreign key is if you pull in the class name followed by ID for a different class into a current class. So let's say we have class A and class B. So in class A, if you enter class B ID, then that would be a foreign key. You can also use the foreign key attribute to specify what properties are foreign keys. So if you're not following the naming scheme or you're worried that Entity Framework is going to be confused, you can use the foreign key attribute. By default, all your properties in a class are mapped to a table, and they become columns in the table. If for some reason you do not want a property to be a column in the table, you can add the not mapped attribute. Okay, so if we had, for example, mother name and father name in our student class, and we did not want to store that data in a table, we could have not mapped. So the attributes that we just covered are all schema-related attributes. And they require pulling in the data annotation dot schema namespace. Okay, so you have to have using system.componentModel.dataAnnotations.schema. And if you forget that, yeah, you are going to notice that it is flagging an error. The next set of attributes that we look at are going to be for errors.